Hi guys, so it's me again. We are actually moving into our new lesson, so we're going to actually be talking about the skeletal system and about the bones. So I'll get into that now. So we're going to talk about the bones, a little bit of characteristics. We're not going to go too much in depth because tomorrow we're going to go more in depth on every single bone that I talk about in this PowerPoint. So let's get started. So what is a skeleton exactly? So our skeleton gives our body support and protects our organs from damage. So any bone that is like in like the chest cavity or like the pelvis and like the skull is what protects most of our organs and like everything that is important, like the brain, reproductive systems, all that. So it's like an outermost like shell that allows for our organs to function correctly when there's like impact or anything like that. It protects it. It just makes sure everything is working well if something happens. So our skeleton and our bones are made up of 206 bones. And if you guys watch this YouTube video that I have linked here, you will get to know like the bones and skeleton a little bit more. And it's just like a kind of like a fun, catchy song that'll get you familiar with the bones. But to get into it, what you will need for this PowerPoint and like the thing that we're going over today is we're going to do a labeling activity at the end of all the bones that we go over in these following PowerPoints. So I'm going to need you guys to take out your blank skeleton that was handed out in class so that we can label it together at the end. And then you'll need a pen or a pencil or colored pens, whatever you want to label it at the end. And you're going to need to be able to create arrows on this piece of paper to point to the bones that we will be labeling. So the bones that we will be learning in this PowerPoint and tomorrow in class and for like the next 2 weeks is the skull, ribs, spine, pelvis, radius, femur, tibia, foot, hand, ulna, patella or the kneecap, and then the fibula. So we're going to start out with like the topmost bone, which would be the skull. So this protects the brain and all like the nerves that are going through your head to your spine. So this a fun fact is a skull can actually tell scientists about a person's race, gender, and their living habitats. So this is just not applied, like all mammals and stuff have like skulls, so they can tell exactly what mammal it was, how long they lived. And then for people, just their gender, their race, and stuff like that, just by studying the skull. And this is actually not made up of one total bone. It is actually made up of smaller 22 bones. So this is like, for example, this is the mandible and this is the frontal lobe of the skull. So we'll go in more depth in that in like the following weeks. But just to get a general idea, this is the whole part of the head is called the skull. So then we will be talking about the ribs. So the ribs are like where the chest cavity like sits inside of. So there is 12 pairs of ribs, but there's actually 24 ribs total, but there's 12 pairs. So they're made up of true ribs and false ribs. So the first 7 are considered true ribs, and then the following 8 through 12 is considered false ribs, with these 2 down here, which are considered floating ribs. And this, the ribs protect like your chest cavity, which is your lungs, your heart, and your liver from damage, any impact or anything like that. It's like an outer shell that allows for these to fully function if anything happens. And then we'll talk about the spine, which is made up of 26 total bones. So the top 7 is your cervical bones, which will be up here, which make up like your neck and like, so it goes up to your skull, connects your skull to like your back and stuff like that. So it's your neck. And then the next 12 are the thoracic bones. And then the next 5 are your lower ones, which are the lumbar, which are the bigger ones. And then you have one bone, but it is actually made up of 5 vertebrae fused together. So they're smaller ones, but they only create one bone, which is down here, which is called your sacrum and your coccyx. But your coccyx is made up of 4 small vertebrae, which you will also know this and hear it as your tailbone. So these are considered only one bone. Both of these, the sacrum and the coccyx, but they are fused together with smaller vertebrae. So the pelvis then is what sits like where your hips and stuff are. So this supports the upper body and transfers body weight to the lower limbs. So it takes pressure off the top body with like your body weight, and it brings you down to like your femurs and like stuff like that, and it keeps like your body weight even. And then this protects your digestive system, your urinary system, and your reproductive system for both male and females. And we'll go in more depth on this too, exactly what everything is. But it also, these back things are considered your sacrum and your coccyx again. Your humerus, so this is one of the 3 bones that actually make up the arm. So it is between your shoulder and your elbow, so it's considered the upper bone of the arm. So they're skinnier in the middle and wider on the ends where it connects to the shoulder and the elbows because it gives it a little bit more strength. So it's more movable, it can carry more weight. It allows for like not too much strain to be put on the entire bone, but rather than the joints that connect the 2 nodules at the end. The radius and the ulna are 2 of the 3 bones that make up the arm. So this connects the elbow to the wrist, which are your lower bones of the arm. So the radius is smaller and is shorter than the ulna. So the bottom of these bones, though, is where they meet to form your wrist, which your wrist then connects your hand. So it would be down here, and this is where your elbow would then connect. And then your hand, which is connected by the wrist from your ulna and your radius, is made up of 27 bones. So this includes the hand and the finger bones. They're connected by joints and ligaments, which allows for you to grab things. So like when you pick up your phone, a pen, a pencil, you'll actually be using bones and joints and ligaments to allow for this movement to happen. So, and then we're going to move to the lower half of the body, which is the first bone is the femur. So this is the largest and hardest bone in your body. So this is where like your thigh would be. So this is the bone that lies underneath all that muscle and all that stuff. So this makes up 1/4 of a person's overall height actually. And it connects the knee or the patella to the hip, which is part of the femur or part of the pelvis. So this is the biggest bone in the body, but it is actually very light in weight because it can bear a lot of weight itself. So it is an actual hollow bone and is considered a long bone, and it is a weight-bearing bone. So if you were to pick one of these bones up, you would think it's probably heavy, but it is actually a very light bone because it allows for a lot of weight to be put on it, which is why your central weight is carried throughout your legs. So your patella or your kneecap protects your joints in the knee. It is important to allow the leg to bend and for movement. So whenever you're jumping, running, kicking, squatting, anything, your knee is the one that is performing that movement, which is allowing for your femur and your bottom parts of your legs to move at that 90-degree angle or a little bit shorter or smaller. And this connects the femur and the tibia. So the lower part of the leg is considered the tibia and the fibula. So the tibia forms the shin, which is the front part of your leg, whereas the fibula forms the calf, which is the back part of your leg. The fibula connects the knee to the ankle, whereas the tibia and fibula meet at the bottom to where the ankle is formed. So the ankle is what will connect like your foot and these bones together. So then we'll move on to the foot. So this is made up of 26 bones, toes and the foot bones. The big toe is the only toe that is made up of only 2 bones. So what we're talking about when I say 2 bones are these 2 right here. And then the other bones are made up of these 3. This is considered part of the toes, but it's also part of the foot. So why this is important is your big toe is the biggest one, and your pinky toe are the biggest ones, or the smallest one. So these are actually to create central balance within your foot. So whenever you are walking and stuff like that, your feet and your toes are actually what creates your central balance, and your big toe is the main point of central balance for your foot. So now this is the point where I said you need your blank skeleton map, which is this one that I printed out for you, but is unlabeled. So I want you to pause this video, take a few minutes, however long you need, to label the skeleton exactly how I have it labeled off to the right. You will need this for class tomorrow, so be sure that this is fully put out and labeled exactly how I have it to the right. After you're completed with this, make sure that you gather these materials to bring to class tomorrow. So you'll have your labeled skeleton tomorrow to class so we can discuss it. And then after you're done with that, I'm going to need you to complete this Google form quiz tomorrow before the beginning of class to the best of your knowledge. And we'll come in, be ready to, I'll be ready to give you more information on all these, and you'll be ready to tell me how this PowerPoint and everything went for you. So I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. Please fill out the quiz and make sure you bring your labeled skeleton.